Hi, everyone. Welcome to Truth Teller Tales. I'm Ellen, and I am dedicated to interviewing those warriors who have had the insight and unwavering faith during this most incredible time in our history. I believe that their stories are important and that they will be studied and remembered for generations to come. Today, I have a beautiful warrior who is from the medical industry, and she had her dose of deception during the pandemic, and I can't wait to hear her whole story. I'm so excited to have her. BB Maguire, woo, you're a rock star. How are ya?
Hi, Ellen. Thanks so much for having me, and welcome everyone to Truth Teller Tales.
Absolutely. And I had to say the dose of deception at the
Yeah.
beginning because your your Rumble podcast is doses of deception. So
It
before
is.
we dive into your history and your life, which I can't wait to get to, just tell us kind of what you're doing now with your podcast and things like that.
Well, it's been about 5.5 months ago. I started a podcast on Rumble, and it's called Doses of Deception. And the concept behind it is let's take a look at all the different ways that we have been lied to, those doses
Mhm.
of deception we've been fed, and let's counter them with truth and information so that we can start to critically think through and exit that matrix of lies. So that's pretty much what we do. I cover a lot of the health related headlines as they're coming out because they're coming out fast and furious now as this
They are.
administration really gets going. And then usually I have a guest on and I allow them to select a topic that they are
Mhm.
either well versed in or they want to know more about. And then I go do the nerdy girl research thing that I do and we talk about it. And we all get to learn, both me, the guest, and our audience get to learn something new about all kinds of different topics. So
Yeah,
it's
and
been it's been wonderful.
I'm one of those people. I've watched from the beginning because I just have when I discovered everything that we've been lied to in the medical industry, I've really dove into that, not to your extent. And so the idea of what you're doing and taking a topic and you have information, you have videos, you really get a lot of factual information that backs up these things, and I always watch your podcast and go, "Oh my god, I had no idea," things from 60 Minutes, and all this factual stuff, and 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 I think what you're doing too, my podcast are time capsules of your stories. Your podcast is absolutely time capsules of what we've been lied to in our medical industry and ways that could help people, and I adore your podcast. What can I say?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, you know what I was thinking about, like, where would I start? I'm 59, and so I thought about the fact that, gosh, things really are different than they were when we were kids in the 70s. What happened in the 70s?
Yeah,
And so that's kind of
right.
where I started, like, what happened in the 70s? Because it's been this more than 50 years of just insanity, and it's been
Yes.
rapid. What children are experiencing today is so different than what we experienced as children. So,
Yes.
yeah.
And they don't realize that window keeps moving and, we just that boiling pot of water, it just
Mhm.
and so I'm so happy that you're doing that. So because of that, I think that, people like you who are just such warriors, I love to hear your stories, and so I really wanna go back and hear, where you were born and your family life and just kinda start from there.
Well, I was born in Maryland and I still live
Mm.
in Maryland. So I'm right outside, the swamp. I live outside of Annapolis, Maryland, which is where the Naval Academy is, a very Navy area. Lots of water. It's a beautiful area, but unfortunately, we are right outside the DC swamp. So there's a lot of that tension because of that. And I was born to two parents, my mom and dad, and they divorced when I was pretty young. And so I was pretty much raised by a single mom. And that was during the whole like 70s women's lib thing.
Yeah.
The commercial that comes to mind that kind of formulated my my thought process as a young, adolescent was, the Chanel commercial, "I can bring home the bacon, da na na na,
Fry it up in a pan.
yeah, that the whole thing, like, do it all, you can do it all, and it was the biggest lie we were ever fed. It was the biggest lie because I watched my mom, like, be a crazy person. My sister and I were latchkey kids, and so it was tough growing up. We lived, I did not grow up in a nice little suburban neighborhood with 2 parents and a fenced yard and a little doggy. I grew up in, subsidized housing, so we kids learned how to cope and get through life kind of raising each other because most of our parents worked, and so we were left with very little supervision. Sometimes we got into some trouble, but we were just this band of kids that just kind of grew up and raised each other. It was weird. But that was
So,
life was like growing up, and then my mom got remarried when I was in high school.
well, before we get there, so back then, so you have a sister, older or younger sister?
Younger, younger. She's
Younger
3 years
sister,
younger.
so
Mhm.
how many years younger, did
3.
you say? Okay, 3. So you were almost kind of a mini mom to her too, probably, right?
I was, yeah. When I remember in 3rd grade, I was in 3rd grade, and I watched my sister and another little girl after school till our moms got home, and by 3rd grade, I was already starting dinner and making sure our homework was done before my mom got home from school. So I, like, grew up really quick, really quick. Yeah. I
Yeah,
was the
and so you were so you had that responsibility. It's interesting now that I think about it. So you had this responsibility not only of her, but of someone in the neighborhood, and so
Mhm.
did you was that natural for you? Did was it stressful for you? How was that growing
I think
up?
it was just natural. I was a firstborn, so I think it was natural, I think. I don't
Yeah.
remember it being filled with tension or difficulty. It was just something I naturally kind of fell into. So
And then it was just something obviously because of your circumstances, it was just kind of a normal for you, right?
mhm,
Um, and then you said that there was a band of kids. Were the band of kids, were those the ones that lived within the complex of where you
mhm.
were living?
Yep, yep,
And
we
they
were
were
all
all kind of on their own? Were there bad influences,
Oh, yeah.
good influences?
Oh,
What
yeah.
were you
Oh, yeah. And when you would get caught into the bad influences, I remember we got caught one time. We climbed up onto the roof of a church. We were smoking cigarettes up there, and the cops got called, and so we all went scooching down the roof of the church and went running. And my sister was younger; she was up there with us. She was younger, so she couldn't run as fast, and she got caught, and she nailed us all. So we all got we all got in trouble.
that
Yeah,
is hilarious.
yeah, that
Oh,
that was like 7th grade.
yeah, so those years, the 7th, and back and I grew up in Maryland too, actually, which is interesting. Those years it was, junior high,
Mhm.
right? I mean, in those years, that's when, there weren't cell phones or anything, and we really could cut loose.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't know any better because there weren't cell phones, but, I'm sure your mom I'm sure she worried while she was working, wondering where you were and what you were doing, and you were having to take the lead and not only watch yourself, but watch your sister.
I
Did you
I
feel that with her that she worried about that?
I don't think she did because I think that I was really good at just making sure I had it. I got it. I got
Mhm.
it. I got it, And I think when you're a single mom like that, you're so focused on I have to provide, I have to provide, I have to take care of the kid, I
Yeah.
have to and so you stay pretty focused on that and hope that this child of yours who has shown, this potential is going to handle it. And pretty much, we stayed out of most trouble. We got in a little
Yeah.
bit of trouble, like the church thing, but we stayed out of major trouble.
Yeah.
Just,
I mean, that's
goofy kid things.
goofy kid things for sure. And so then in high school, tell me about your high school years and kind of what group you gravitated towards.
So, I was a really good student, really, really good student, and, so I was in all the AP classes. I was in all the nerdy, smarty pants kids classes. but I didn't wanna be a nerdy smarty pants kid, because I was also kind of athletic. So I morphed into all these. I would move in and out of most little groups, but pretty much I was president of the student government, I was captain of
Good
the
for you.
cheerleaders, I
What?
dated the star running back on the football team. I was that girl that you hated because
Love.
I just was out there, out there, out there, out there, and, when I think about it now, I think that was all cover, because if I could keep all the shiny things going, then no one would ever see how, insecure and scared I actually am. So, with all the titles and all the big things, then you didn't get to see the fact that I was just as messed up and scared and insecure as you. So,
Wow.
yeah, that
That
when I
is
look at it
fa
now, I think, "Ah, yeah, that's what I was doing." I didn't understand it, but
wow.
yeah.
That that is so fascinating to me, actually. And that's a insight because obviously you were a popular girl, but, what's interesting is that not only with the cheerleading, but the president of the government association, whatever was there. Um, I mean, you it was all of it. It wasn't just one, and I that's so interesting, and that you said that it covered up kind of some insecurity. But don't you think, because it sounds like with your life you were such a leader from the beginning, don't you think that insecurity was just kind of a normal high school insecurity? You had to have some confidence within you because of your role that you had to take, and
Mhm.
at such a young age with your sister, don't you think?
I do, and I think adolescence is marked by you're supposed to be insecure. You're in the formulation stage of your life. You go through
Yeah.
all of these different things in adolescence, and so not being comfortable in your own skin is part of adolescence. You're
Yes.
growing into your skin. So you know.
Yes.
The idea that adolescents are like, oh, but I'm just uncomfortable in my skin. Maybe I'm the wrong gender. No, you're just a teenager. We're all uncomfortable in our skin when we're teenagers. None of us know
Right.
what we're doing. None of us.
Exactly. Here's
Yeah.
what's interesting, though. I don't want to hark on this too much, but I find it so interesting. So, because, with your successes in high school, to some people who didn't have that, they think, "Oh, you had everything so easy. It must have been so easy for you because those people." And I was more on that side. I was a pom-pom girl, and I was in the government treasurer and stuff. And so it comes across as that things are easier, but in your case, you're just telling me now things weren't easier for you.
Mm-mm.
And so it's just something in you is how you dealt with it. Right?
Mm.
And it
Yeah.
wasn't some strong. You didn't have, your mom and dad there together and had this perfect family right then, and then everything was just all easy for you. That you took your life, you something in you, and you took it, and you had that drive to be successful and to be a leader in different areas, even in high school. So I find that really interesting, um, for sure. And then so after high school, so tell me what happened after high school.
Well, I graduated, and of course, you have to figure out, the big thing is go to college. So
Right.
I got accepted to San Diego State at the time. I was going to go out to California. I was just going to go across the country and go to school in San Diego, um,
Wow.
and then I was too afraid to do that because the boyfriend, was local,
Okay.
and so I went to school at Salisbury, um, which is over on the eastern shore of Maryland. At the
Yeah.
time, it was Salisbury State. It's now university,
Okay.
but I was there only a year because when I went out to Salisbury and I no longer had parental supervision, um,
Mhm.
the ugly part of my life began to blossom. And that is the fact that I went to, well, this is the 80s. And I went to my very first frat party. The first week I'm on campus and walked in, and there was cocaine on every flat surface of that dorm. And again, it was the 80s and it was the cocaine decade, and got introduced to that. Began going to the Thursday night in the bars in Salisbury was like college night, and so the drinks were flowing, they were cheap, everybody was doing it, everybody was drinking, everybody was doing cocaine, and I got caught up in that. And it
Wow.
was yeah, it didn't take long for me to go, "Whoa, this is not good," and, I probably need parental supervision. So I went back home and I literally called my parents and I said, I think I need parental supervision." So I moved back home and, went to community college, still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. My parents wanted me to go into sales. 'Cause my
Well,
dad said, "I think you have" my stepdad at the time, he said, "I think you have this natural ability to do sales," except I hated math. The whole accounting and math, I hated math. I was, like, gravitating I was taking, like, microbiology classes for fun and
oh
loved
my
it. Like,
word.
loved microbiology and loved anatomy and physiology, just was, like, drawn to it. So I ended up talking to a counselor who said, I think your area is starting to reveal itself. Maybe you should look into, medical sciences." And so long story short, I ended up in the nursing program. And yeah, the rest is
And so
history.
I wanna dive into that too, but then you were starting to tell me, so basically your mom remarried at some point there,
Uh-huh.
and that was okay? I
Hmm.
mean, with everything?
Hmm.
Um, and then so those things where the drugs were flowing in college there that one year, were you able just to
Walk away.
when you did yeah, when you get rid of that? Because I mean, some people have a hard time really once they dive into something like that to stop.
It took a couple years. What did it for me was attending the funeral of a friend who, while we were maybe recreationally using, this friend had started doing, much worse and ended up having a massive heart attack along the lines of, do you remember Len Bias with the University of
Of
Maryland?
of course,
So my
yes.
friend, it wasn't long after the Len Bias thing, and I'm not sure if it wasn't like bad stuff that hit the streets, I'm not sure, but a friend of mine had that same experience and we went to the funeral. And I remember going back with, a bunch of people who'd gathered after the funeral and everybody was doing it again. And I kind of had this out of body experience where I was able to step back and look at this and go, "What are you doing? What are you doing? We just went to a funeral. What are you doing?" And I walked away. And I walked away from all the people and all of the influence, and I just walked away from it. And I'm grateful for that ability, and I don't judge anyone who's not able to, because, like I talked about at the beginning, it wasn't just the cocaine, it was the drinking as well. Drinking, I was not able to walk away from. So everybody's got their demon, and drinking was mine. So I quit drinking 19 years ago.
Oh, wow. So that was something that you held on to for ho while
Many
you were
years, many years, yep. So I went to school, I got my degree in nursing, started working as a nurse, and prior to even being nursing, I was pretty young. I did pre-hospital. I got my EMT and I volunteered with a rescue squad for many years. My dad, not my stepdad, but my dad was actually a fire chief when we were growing up. And though I didn't get to see him a whole lot because of the divorce when I was young, when I did go see him, we would spend a lot of time hanging out at the fire department. And I loved the smells and the trucks and the equipment. And I just loved the whole thing about it. And so I ended up becoming an EMT and then thereafter became a nurse. So I had that pre-hospital background as well as the nursing background.
yeah, yeah, which obviously everything that we go through makes us who we are,
Hmm.
right? And what we
Hmm.
do. And so what was there a turning point for you after those 20 years that you decided how did you end up stopping that? The
How did I quit?
drinking
How
part
did
of
I quit drinking? And,
Yeah.
it's funny how God will just put people in your path.
Yeah.
I and it's been 19 years of not drinking and 19 years of recovery where I've come to understand that, and I also equate this to the Great Awakening as well. So, in order for someone to get to the point where they're willing to stop what they're doing, there
Mhm.
has to be enough pain.
Yeah.
Because in order for you to go, I'm going to stop doing this and make a change in my life, what I'm doing has to become painful enough to be willing to change. So the
Yeah.
pain has to be greater than the fear of change. And
Yes.
so some people who drink or use drugs or any of that, their pain thresholds are really high. Some people have to lose everything. Some people have to
Right.
get locked up. They have to lose their health. They have to lose their freedom. Their bottoms are really low. They have to lose an awful lot before they experience enough pain to be willing to change. My
Right.
pain threshold's not that high. So I never had any of those major negative consequences. I never got arrested. I never wrecked a car. I never lost a job. None of that as a result of my drinking. I think the best analysis I actually heard in a recovery meeting, and what the person said that I really identified with was, um, there wasn't trouble every time I drank, but every time there was trouble in my life, drinking was involved. And when I looked at my life, I was like, wow, that's so true for me. There isn't trouble every time I drink. But man, every time there's trouble, drinking's in the mix. So maybe that's a common denominator I need to look at. And so that's what drove that initial idea that, maybe this is an issue. And, you know, I'm a little person. I'm like 5'2", 108
Oh,
pounds. I'm teeny.
oh,
But man, oh man, I had a very high tolerance for alcohol, very, like, abnormally high, which I thought initially was a badge of honor, and then I quickly learned that, no, that might actually be a warning sign. And there's a lot of alcoholism in my family, and, it doesn't hit everybody. My sister never had any issue with it. It was me. And
mhm,
so, um yeah. So, coming to that realization was the easy part. Hey, this might be a problem. It was
right.
it what the next part of it was the more difficult thing. And the reason was because what alcohol gave me was a solution. So I'm going to bring you all the way back to high school, that feeling of insecurity and
Right.
not feeling comfortable in your skin and all of that. Well,
Right.
that never really left me. And alcohol was a way for me to continue to cover that up, because under the influence, I can be
Mm,
whatever you want me to be. If you
yeah.
guys are purple, I'm going to be purple. And if you guys are green, I'm going to be green. And I had no idea who I was. And I really didn't want you to know who I was. So I'm just going to be whatever you need me to be. And so when I quit drinking, I was very vulnerable. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you might actually see me. I
Yeah.
might actually have to see me. That's the scariest thing in the world, is having to look in the mirror and see the truth. Um,
Yes.
but the journey is the beautiful thing, and you come to know who you are and accept who you are, and you figure out who you are with God, and then that begins a whole new thing. And so to
Whole
bring it
new.
back full circle to, like, the awakening, I think the same thing has to happen. People, we talk about big terms like cognitive dissonance and,
Yeah.
all of that. I think really all it is, it's real simple. It's like recovery. The
Yes.
pain of continuing to believe what you believe has to become so great
Right.
that you become willing to change your belief patterns. And I think that's what we're
Absolutely.
seeing. We're seeing this inundation. People are getting hit all over. We're getting hit medically, financially, economically, politically, peace, war. It's coming at us from all these different directions. And I think it's to
Yes.
try to get people to the point where continuing to hold on to those beliefs becomes so uncomfortable that they have to let go and change, because that's what
Absolutely.
recovery was for me. And I think that I see that same thing happening with people, and I also see the same denial patterns. "No, no, no. I don't have a problem
Um,
with alcohol. No, no, no. You're wrong about all of this. I can't. No, no, no." It's the same. I recognize it because I experienced it. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. You know what? I hadn't even thought about that. That's it. I mean, that in the bubble of addiction and where you have that cognitive dissonance, right? You don't want to deal with it. It is the same thing, BB. Exactly what you just said as the bigger bubble. Because in your world, having to um, acknowledge that you have an addiction. I mean, that's your whole way of life, right? And so
Mhm.
you have to change everything. And so in this bigger bubble of the awakening, that's a whole change of thinking too, where your
Oh, yeah.
whole life
You have to change that.
perception is
Yeah, everything. And it's interesting to me
wow.
too because I think so many people in the truth community, if you start paying attention, they're all kind of broken in that kind of similar way where
Yeah,
something rocked them, something grabbed them, something shook them and they shifted.
yeah,
And
yes,
yeah, I see it as a common theme. And then
yeah,
I think, I think about the way because I'm a Christian. I believe in the fact that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. And when I when I read and I study and when I say that I'm a Christian, it means I follow Christ. And so
mhm,
I have to know what he did and how he did it and read his word and model. And when I think about it, like when Jesus walked the earth, he didn't go get the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the hierarchy of the church. He went and got a bunch of broken dudes, a bunch of broke up dudes. I mean, look at Paul, who wrote the majority of the New Testament. Paul was Saul before he encountered Christ, and he murdered Christians like crazy, and he encounters Christ, and Christ uses him to change the world. And so
yes,
all the 12 disciples are just broke up dudes that Jesus came and said, "All right, y'all come with me. We're going to go
yeah.
out and change the world." And that's what I see in the truther community. I see a bunch of broke up people who are not afraid to be vulnerable, not afraid to be courageous and to just get out there and change the world.
So agreed. I
Yeah.
love it. That's so true. I love that so much. And so I want to dive more into your spirituality and how that's changed. But first,
Mhm.
I really want to hear about your medical journey. I want to hear your evolution as a nurse and how that evolved, and then take me up to where you finally had that epiphany.
So, again, being, pre-hospital, the idea of, I think, regular nursing didn't really appealed to me. I was only going to do emergency trauma because that's my thing. I love it. And I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie. And, I'm a rebel and an adrenaline junkie and slightly ADD. I'm working best when I have like 8 plates in the air. But if you tell me I have to sit in a chair and listen to somebody speak for 2 hours, I can't do it. I'm up, I'm
Yeah,
fidgeting, I gotta
I
move.
hear.
I'm
I hear
best
you.
if I got 8 plates spinning, then I'm on task. So, I gravitated immediately to emergency medicine. I got hired because I was an EMT, I got hired as an emergency room tech while I was in school. I worked with an amazing group of nurses, that was the it was the best group of professionals I think I've ever worked with in my entire career, and it was in a very busy urban emergency department. We were a trauma center. And so we got the worst of the worst. I saw the worst of the worst. And the nurses that I worked with were top notch. And they challenged me and they pushed me and they gave me all kind of crap. If I couldn't answer a question they gave me, then they would say, then you have to go home and come back here a half an hour early for your shift tomorrow and give us a presentation on it so you understand it. So they were great.
Wow.
They were great. So I finished school and started working in that ER as a staff nurse. And it wasn't long after that that I was I was then in charge, and because that's my
Who
nature.
you are.
Yeah, and, yeah, so I ended up staying in, emergency trauma nursing for 23 years, and, I ended up, for the last 10 years of it, I did what they call agency nursing, where I moved around from ER to ER to ER, so I have worked every emergency room in the greater Washington, D.C. metropolitan area from Baltimore all the way to Fairfax, Virginia. In that 10-year time frame, I worked every single hospital. So I got to see a lot of different
I
systems
bet.
and,
Wow.
yeah, a lot. So it was a really eclectic, experience, which
Yeah.
I'm completely grateful for. Um, and, so, but, when you do that for 23 years, it takes a toll. It really takes a toll. Early, and I think a lot of this may have fed into, like, the whole, like, drinking thing. When I was new in emergency nursing, we would see some really heavy things, and I'm not gonna impose that on anyone here, but it weighs on you. It's the kind of stuff that keeps you up at night. It's the kind of stuff you
Yeah.
can't think about. There's
Can't imagine.
certain smells to this day that will still trigger memories, thoughts, things I've seen, and, back then, late '80s, early '90s, we didn't have, EAP programs or any kind of stress debriefings. We got off work and we went to the bar. And it didn't matter what time your shift ended. It could be 7 a.m., 7 p.m., midnight, didn't matter. The bars were open and we could go. And that's how we coped. We would drink and we would talk about it, and then we would shelve it, and you're on to the next shift. And so that was a pattern for 23 years. And then, so at the end of it, I think I was burned out. You can only do that for so long, where you see the very worst of what, society has to offer.
Yeah.
Um, one example, a young person shot in the chest 6, 7 times, and I'm walking the $12,000 cash that this, very young adolescent who's shot in the chest had in his pocket to hand to his mother, because he was out dealing drugs and got shot in the chest. And, your heart breaks, and it weighs on you, and it's just part of um, that part of reality, that this is what's
Yes.
happening out there. This
Right.
young man is out there dealing drugs to keep his family afloat, and he just
Yeah.
got shot in the chest, and he's probably not gonna survive this, and I have to hand
Yeah.
this mother $12,000 cash that was in his pockets. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yes.
That's just one very, very minor story of 23 years of rough
But
stuff.
but but for the personality that you have, and I would I feel that just you telling me this story, you feel like you wanna do something about it, right? You
Mhm,
you wanna be able to help, you wanna be able to help past the physical injuries, but you can't,
mhm,
and that's a hard thing, to feel like that you can't help past, and they keep coming in, I'm sure, keep
mhm,
coming in and more of that, and so that and I'm sure that feeling weighs more on some people than others.
mhm.
I think, 'cause
I'll give you a good
I
example.
felt that.
We had a student nurse. We would get student nurses that would come through, and it was the evening that, I was out on the floor, and, we had a working code come in. So I'm up on the chest doing chest compressions, and we're talking about what we're gonna order for dinner, and we're laughing about something somebody said, and, we're pushing the drugs, and we're doing the shocks, and we're doing we're working a code. That's one of probably 6 I'm gonna work in that shift. And so that's what we're doing, and the student nurse is at the end of the bed, and she's just appalled. She's in tears. "Oh my god, how can you be so insensitive? You guys are horrible." So when the code was done, and, we're zipping up a body bag, I called her into the office and I said, "Sit down, let's chat." I said, "What you have to understand, doll, because you don't see this all the time, is we're gonna do that 6 more times tonight. I'm going to zip up more body bags tonight than most nurses zip up in their career.
Wow.
So, um, we have to cope. And what I mean by
Right.
cope means we have to be on task to try to
Yes.
save the next one that's coming in. And
Right.
if we are breaking down the way you're breaking down right now, we can't do that. So this is our way of putting things into a perspective where we can be available for the next one coming in, because my job here is to do everything I possibly can to save the life of the one who's coming in.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times we're unsuccessful, but by damned, we are going to give it our best shot for every person that comes into that code room, into that trauma room. I'm going to give it my best shot. And so I can't be breaking down. And so we all had that coping skill that we were able to
Yep.
just employ. And,
Yes.
I think over time it has a negative effect. You see the same thing in the military and law enforcement. It's the same kind of
Mm,
thing. But, for the task at hand, you do the task
right.
at hand, and all of that
Yeah.
other stuff gets shelved. And some people are able to do it and some people aren't. And that's why there's certain
Right.
people who gravitate toward that field.
Yep.
I have 2 adult children, both of them are nurses.
Oh,
My my daughter, the oldest one, doesn't have that edge. She's so sweet and so kind and so gentle, and she works in a different field. My son, he's got that edge, and he is currently in critical care and is a
oh,
damn fine
wow.
critical care nurse because he's got that. He's got that edge, and he's got that he gets pulled into that same way. So I pass that on to him.
That is so fantastic. I
Yeah.
love that. And so that's amazing. And you I love how you put things because I can see it for sure because you do to be able to what seems callous isn't. You have to compartmentalize yourself to be
Mhm.
able to focus on that and then the next person and and you have to be right on mark. And that's just amazing way that you just told that story. So as that is going on, then we're reaching 2019, 2020. What
Well,
was your
I stopped being a trauma nurse, and then I went into surgical nursing. So about the last 10 years,
oh,
I've been in
okay.
outpatient surgical nursing because 'cause I've been a nurse
Oh, wow.
34 years.
And how was
Um,
that change?
well, it was nice because, outpatient surgery, I'm not working these crazy shifts.
Yeah.
Outpatient surgery is more of a Monday through Friday, weekends,
Mm,
holidays off. It's a more normal life after that crazy, trauma thing
right.
23 years. So,
Yeah.
I'm also older. I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
I want something more, more normal. And,
Yes.
so outpatient surgery has done really well. I've worked outpatient surgery in hospitals as well as outpatient surgery centers, which is what I currently do, outpatient surgery at a surgery center. And, it's not near as challenging or
Mhm.
stressful. For the
Right.
most part, people are fairly healthy. They just
Mhm.
have an outpatient surgical need. They come in, they have their surgery, they recover, they go home. So,
Yeah.
it's pretty easy in comparison to what I spent the first
Comparison.
half of my career doing. Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, correct. So, and it
So
is all in what you know because you've been through something with is so stressful. So this for you, you can handle it and still
Oh, yeah,
have
with my
that.
eyes closed.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
2020. So it was mid-March of 2020 where we had the 2 weeks to slow the spread, and,
Right.
all outpatient surgery centers were shut down in Maryland, and all resources reallocated to hospitals because they were anticipating. Because if you remember, there was, everything going on in New York, and New York was crazy, and we saw all that craziness, and
That's right.
Governor Hogan here in Maryland was telling us we were gonna be the next epicenter, and so all of outpatient surgery was shut down so that all resources, both PPE, which of course was in high demand, gloves, masks, gowns, all of that, our anesthesia machines, our surgical equipment, all of our resources were reallocated to hospitals and we were shut down. And so essentially, if you were employed at any kind of outpatient surgical center, you were on unemployment. Uh, what? Wait a minute.
Right.
We're in the middle of a pandemic where uh, the hospitals are overwhelmed. I'm a critical care nurse for more than 23 years. I have 10 years of surgical nursing experience, and I'm at home on
Yeah.
unemployment. That doesn't
Right.
make any sense. So
Right.
there was this call for, they were thinking that we were going to have to set up a field hospital at the Baltimore Convention Center because, again, we were going to be the next New York. And so I went and got hired. I was going to be a COVID nurse at that field hospital. I was going to do what I'm trained to do.
Right.
I wasn't in the least bit afraid. I'm
Yep.
going to go do what I do. This is what I'm trained to do. We're in the middle of a crisis. This is what we do. So I went and did all the paperwork, went through all the crap I have to do, and I was never used because it never happened. I think they saw a very small number of patients at this. I mean, they spent millions creating this field hospital, and I think they saw just several hundred that they only gave. I think they were doing using it for the infusions. They never saw
Mm.
COVID patients. They never saw actively sick COVID patients because it never materialized. So anyway,
Wow.
so I'm sitting at home on unemployment, either
Yeah.
waiting to go back to work or waiting to go work at the field hospital. And like I said, I'm kind of a high energy person. So I'm stuck in the house. I got, the stupid news on 24 hours a day. And so I'm painting. I'm painting everything in my if you were standing in my kitchen, I would have painted you. Like, I'm painting everything in my house. Walls, I'm painting chairs, like, painting like crazy. So I'm standing in my living room. Here's the moment, and I call it the God tap.
Yep.
With a paintbrush in my hand, gloves, with my paint clothes on, hair up in a ponytail, and I am watching on the news the reports that Trump had sent the hospital ships to New York and to LA to
Mhm.
help with the overflow of all of these overwhelmed hospitals. At the same time, these governors are sending nursing home patients from the hospitals to make beds available back into the nursing homes while the hospital ships sat empty. And I
Yeah.
remember the moment like it was yesterday. And it was like, "Holy shit, this is nefarious." Oh, 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 and and the moment just kept coming like, "Oh my oh, this whole thing." That wake up started, a fire in me that I have yet to be able to put out. And
Wow.
what happened in that moment was the realization first that this was nefarious.
Mhm.
The next thing that hit me was, "They're lying to us." And then the question that won't let me go is, "What else are they lying to us about?"
Exactly.
And that's how my show was born, Doses of Deception. What else are they lying to us about?
Yes.
Because it won't let me go. It just won't let me
Yes.
go.
Yeah, and that's such an amazing journey, and I think that there's certain people, and I felt the same way, and all that I'm interviewing, when that information began, and there was always one path that got you hooked, right, into questioning, and it's the people that continue on and can't stop. To your point, those are the ones that are in this community wanting to get the word out because our insatiable appetite to learn and to understand where we've been lied to. And so I that's just such an incredible story. And so
Well,
what I know.
I think we all kinda get, in differing degrees, we all kinda get that wake up tap, you know,
Yes.
because the people in the community that you're talking about that are seeking information,
Yeah.
That's was me seeking information, and I went
Right.
digging anywhere I could, and I was listening to anybody who would, at the time we were on Twitter, and so
Right.
I made a Twitter account and I started following, the people who were putting out truth, and
Yeah.
and then I started following, folks on Facebook, and I was following critical care um uh groups that were trying to put out information from like Italy and Europe, and I just was constantly seeking, and we still see people seeking information and seeking truth. Um
Indeed.
and I think if we continue to seek, at some point in that process, we get pushed into not just seeking, but actually getting on the battlefield. And I
Yes.
think that that's interesting. I don't know what causes us to wanna get on the battlefield. I don't
Right.
know. I
And that's
understand the seeking. I don't
yes.
understand, like, what is it in us that causes us to be pushed onto that battlefield other than God? God will push. I got pushed. Doing a show, I would have been just fine having my little 9 to 5 surgical nursing, thing, and, sit behind my screens and follow all of you wonderful people who are out there truth telling. Um, I'd have been just fine doing that, but, eh, I God wouldn't let me go. God would not let me go, and it kept pushing, and then bringing all the right people into my path that pushed and guided and mentored and, busted my rear end and laughed at me. All the things that have, like,
All of it.
all the things, because 'cause
Well,
I've
and
had some
that's
really
when
wonderful people.
yes, but that's when you know it's supposed to happen, and that's why I wanna our last part of our conversation to end here is because that's what where I started this program is that perfect combination of truth seeking and then truth telling, wanting to do that. And what I'm finding, there are different patterns and different similarities, but there's one that's the strongest of all, of course, is that God tap and that God connection. And so with you, your growing spirituality and your growing relationship with God, was that a gradual thing or
Yes.
was that something that happened just out of the blue?
It's interesting because I can remember 2nd grade, we used to go to Awana on Wednesday nights, and Awana was a program, I think, run through Baptist churches. Anyway,
Okay.
they were allowed to come into the school, so Wednesday evenings at the public elementary school, Awana would have their thing for, like, 2 hours, and we would play games, and it was a Christian-based, program where they, allowed children to, play and learn, and then they would teach you about the gospel of Christ. And, I remember I was in 2nd grade, and a woman named Diana, and then there's these little Awana books that you work through, and you're learning about who Christ is, and anyway, I got to the point where I was ready to accept Christ as my savior, and this woman named Diana, prayed with me in 2nd grade, and I remember that. I'm almost 60. I remember Diana in 2nd grade. Now, what I didn't
Wow.
have beyond that was formal religious education or church going. It just wasn't something that our family embraced, but that was always there in me. So that when I got sober, part of the journey of sobriety is a spiritual awakening. And when I came into that spiritual awakening, I was reunited with that 2nd grade little girl who'd accepted Christ, and that's when it really just kind of blossomed. And so, and then again, it's like anything else. It's a journey. It's not an event.
Right.
It's a journey,
Yeah.
and it's a journey of building a relationship. And so when I got that God tap, and I was like, "What?" Um, I started asking in prayer, "Why'd you wake me up? What do you want
Yeah.
me to do? I
Right.
don't know. I don't know what you want me to do. I know going back and forth to work at this stupid little surgery center is not why you woke me up. I don't know why. Why'd you wake me up? What do you want me to do? I'll do it. You just have to show me." And I'm kind of hard headed. So can you hit me with some bricks? Shut down the stuff I'm not supposed to do. Open up the path you want me to walk, and I will go. I will be faithful. I will walk. Just show me. And so I was doing anything that would come at me. For instance, behind me, let me see. Somewhere up there, up at the top, you'll see the mandate for leadership. I did the whole Project 2025 training, hours and hours and
Wow.
hours and hours and hours and hours. And because I thought, well, maybe I'm supposed to be a part of the administration. Maybe my experience can be used there. Maybe I'll just do it. And if it's supposed to
Yep.
happen, it'll happen. And it didn't
Right.
happen. It didn't happen.
Mm,
And I don't know what else I was doing. Whatever came at me, I was like, okay, if this is what you want me to do, I'll do it. And then, uh, and then the whole podcast thing just kind of came out of nowhere. Nowhere. I got asked to be a guest on a podcast, and the feedback was great. My comfort level was amazing, and I was like, "Wow, maybe this is what I'm supposed to do." So I began praying about it. God, is this what you want me to do? Is this all right? Then open that path. If it's not what you want me to do, shut it down. If it's what you want me to do, open it up. And man, oh man,
right.
it opened up. And all the right people were brought
Mm,
to mentor and guide and provide assistance and it continues to this day. And I continue to just pray because I am an instrument in his hands. This show, what
amen.
I do is it's what he wants. It's what it's I ask every week, who do you want me to ask to be a guest? What topics do you want me? What do you think I need to bring forth? How do you want me to bring it forth? It's all about what he wants put out. And as long as I stay humble and grateful
Mhm.
and
Yes,
an instrument in his hands, um,
absolutely.
then I'm completely fulfilled and I'm doing what God would have me do. And man, oh man, is that fulfilling.
It
Man, oh man.
is. I
Yeah.
couldn't agree with you more, and what a beautiful story, and I feel the same. And it's just such a wonderful thing to hear you say that. Um, so your show is Tuesdays,
Tuesdays
right?
at 5 p.m. I go live on Rumble, and I'm also live on X. That's on the screen
Okay.
down there. The show simulcasts live both Rumble and X, 5 p.m. on Tuesdays.
Yeah, you do a live show.
I didn't
Um,
start
and
off live. I started off recording because I was scared to death to do the live thing because all the stuff was brand new for
yeah, I
me. I mean,
know.
I knew exactly what to do if your legs are on backwards, but I didn't know
Yeah,
anything about microphones and cameras and video
I know.
aspect ratios. I didn't know anything about any of this. So I had to learn all this and it was
Yeah,
scary. It
me
was scary.
too, and good for you because, I watch you in the podcast and you're bringing up videos and this and that, and you're clicking. I'm like, "Good for you, baby, that
It's a
you know
lot. It's a
to do
lot.
all that." It is a lot.
I'm
So
doing like the
I look.
production of like 8 different people in I call it the pit. It's down in my basement of my
Yeah,
house. So I call it the pit, but I'm like an 8-person production team all by
yeah.
myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you are. Yes, and I watch it and I admire it. I'm like, "Good for you."
Thank you.
And you steadfastly do it, and the information that you give is just to me, it's and the topics that you have are going to be endless, you know? I mean, there's just gonna be so because I'm watching, I'm thinking, "Oh gosh, I can't wait for her to hit this and that and as I'm going through with my daughter who had a child and pregnancies and birth. I mean, there's so many things so many topics. So I look forward to watching you every week and have more and more people find you as more and more people start to see the truth. So I just can't thank you enough for spending time with me and so we could
Thank you.
hear about you, and what makes you tick and everything about your life. I really appreciate it, Bibi, that you took the time to spend with me.
I'm honored. I'm so honored, and I think what you're doing is amazing, and I think, yes, we need to tell the stories. We are living in amazingly historical times. it is mind-blowing to me, and there's moments I feel really sad for people who are missing it because they're still sleepwalking.
Yes,
Like,
agreed.
you're
You
missing this,
are.
please wake up so you can see this."
And
Yeah.
that's what I every night I say, "God, thank you for letting me have a front row seat to this. I don't
Oh.
know what I did to deserve that I can see what is happening, but how cool is that?"
Oh, yeah. I'm so grateful for it, and I feel really sorry for the people who are missing it, and then at the same time, it's kind of funny. I feel sorry for them, and then I get angry at them. Like, "Why can't you wake up at this point? Good God, how much more do you need to see?" And then I think, maybe God is protecting them.
Yep,
So I feel all of those things all at the same time.
yep,
I'm sad for them, I'm mad at them, and then I'm
right.
like, "Wow, maybe God's protecting them and keeping them
They're
sleepy." I don't know.
they're not supposed to yet, you know, but that's why we are spread out all over the world as those lighthouses, and when they're ready, when it's their time, I guess, and it's gonna happen, obviously.
Yeah,
So I'm just so grateful to be here with you
thank
and to
you.
be able to know the glory of God and understand what is happening and how great it is, bigger than all of us, and it's just amazing time, and, meeting people like you is so inspiring, so thanks again, BB, and I can't wait to see you on your
Thanks for
show
having me.
Tuesday, okay?
Thank you
Alright,
so
take
much,
care.
Ellen. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Bye.